There are situations where, even with respect, affection, and care, some people don't see our worth. They become so accustomed to our company that they end up treating us as if we were invisible, falsely believing that we will never leave their side, even when they leave us aside. In this video, you will see 12 powerful actions, inspired by Stoicism, that do exactly that. Awaken in the person who didn't value you a feeling of lack, confusion, and regret. But it's important to say that this isn't a guide for revenge or for messing with someone's emotions. It's about regaining control of your own life and protecting your dignity. Now let's move on to the first action. Attitude 1. Don't be afraid to move forward without warning. Often those who don't value you expect you to explain everything before walking away, to say why you're leaving, or to give them another chance to change things. But true power lies in moving forward without feeling the need to justify anything to anyone. In Stoicism, one of the strongest ideas is accepting that everything changes. Nothing lasts forever, not even relationships. If someone doesn't value you, that person is already in some way distancing themselves from you internally, and perhaps you just need to realize this before everything becomes a deeper wound. Instead of waiting for the right time to leave or feeling obligated to give an explanation, the Stoic attitude is clear. If the other person doesn't value you, accept that the relationship has an end and move on without fear. No explanations, no fuss, no going back. That's liberating. When you decide to walk away without worrying about what the other person will think, you show that you fully believe in your ability to be happy without their approval. And that in itself creates a huge impact. Those who didn't value you start to wonder, why didn't she ask my permission? Why didn't he explain anything? This attitude isn't revenge. It's simply choosing to prioritize your well-being without having to give explanations to those who never recognized your worth. The Stoic understands that life is too short to waste energy on relationships that don't contribute to their growth or peace. And those who didn't value you, seeing this, feel the emptiness of what they lost, and often despair when they realize that this time it wasn't you who asked to stay. Attitude 2. Treat them kindly, but keep your distance. This is one of the most subtle and, at the same time, most uncomfortable attitudes for someone who didn't know how to value you. When you remain polite, calm, and kind, but without letting the person get close, without opening doors to intimacy or touching your heart, the message is clear. I've changed, and you're no longer part of this space. Stoicism teaches that we should not react with anger or hold grudges. Fury and the desire for revenge bind us. Instead, we should cultivate virtue, balance, and self-control. And nothing demonstrates this more than treating someone who has treated you badly with respect, while maintaining the distance that protects your peace. This attitude is confusing and also annoying, because whoever didn't value you expected two things: either that you would ask for attention or that you would explode with sadness. But when you give a calm good morning, make a polite gesture, or offer a simple smile without resentment, but also without attachment, it completely disarms the other person. It's like saying, I don't hold a grudge, but you're no longer a part of my world. This gentleness is powerful because it shows maturity. It shows that you are calm, but you know exactly who deserves your energy and who doesn't. Over time, this person understands that they lost more than they imagined. They didn't just lose your presence. They lost the right to your attention, your care, your trust, and that hurts, because kindness from a distance weighs more than contempt. It shows that you didn't need to become a hard person to move forward. You simply grew. The Stoic understands there's no need to fight emotional battles. Sometimes all you need to do is continue on your path with honor. And those who didn't value you, upon noticing this, will feel the impact and, perhaps for the first time, understand the value you've always had. Attitude 3. Value your achievements without expecting recognition. One of the worst traps when someone doesn't value you is waiting for that person to notice your achievements and accomplishments. However, Stoicism shows that true joy comes from knowing you did your best, even if no one sees or applauds. When you do something special and decide not to depend on anyone's recognition, you free yourself from the need to receive praise from others. This doesn't mean being arrogant or cold, but rather understanding that your journey and your results are already important in themselves, and not because someone else decided to approve. Those who don't value you often start ignoring you precisely when you achieve something great. They think you'll chase after their opinion, or that you'll feel inferior for not having the support you wanted. But when you act as if your victories are already enough to bring you joy, a space opens up that makes the other person think, "Why doesn't he need me to say anything?" The beautiful part about this is that you, as someone who lives with a Stoic attitude, don't need applause to remain steadfast. Your worth isn't tied to what others think of you. Your calmness doesn't depend on the reactions of others. This creates a peace that is noticeable and very strong. When the people around you realize that you don't need them to be happy or to succeed in life, it affects them. And those who didn't value you end up in an awkward situation, unable to influence your path. It's a type of strength, a silent strength. By achieving something and simply moving forward without waiting for recognition from those who don't value you, you create space for the people who truly matter to understand your worth naturally, without exaggeration, simply through firm and consistent actions. Attitude 4. Set boundaries without guilt. One of the most powerful choices you can make is learning to say no. Saying no to those who use you, who only show up when they want something, who hurt your feelings but still expect you to stay as always. In Stoicism, this is called inner discipline. It's the strength to act on what is right, not out of guilt or fear of upsetting someone. Often those who don't value you count on the fact that you have difficulty setting boundaries. They've become accustomed to you always being around, to your immense patience, to your always open heart. But when you start creating clear rules that cannot be broken, everything changes. And for these people, this changes in a way that is frightening. Marcus Aurelius said that you have power over your mind, not over what happens outside. Understand this, and you will find power. Setting boundaries is exactly that. Taking care of what you control, your choices, your time, your presence, and protecting all of that firmly. When someone tries to invade your emotional space with rudeness, disrespect, or coldness, you don't need to argue. You simply walk away. When they try to make you feel guilty for choosing your peace, you remain calm. When they want your attention without offering you anything real, you stay silent and go your own way. This attitude on its own has a huge impact on those who were previously accustomed to playing with your feelings, because now the tricks stop working. The emotional pressure no longer works. Guilt loses its power. You have become free, and that scares those who once believed they had control over you. The Stoic knows that self-love also means saying, "Enough." It's understanding that by taking care of your peace, you show others how you want to be treated. And if they don't want to learn, they may be very close to losing the privilege of having you around. Attitude 5. Practice strategic silence. Few actions are as powerful as silence, especially when that silence is used clearly and deliberately. When someone treats you with indifference, they expect you to explode, to try to explain everything, to demand attention. But when you respond with silence, something interesting happens. The person loses control of the situation. In Stoicism, silence is not about escaping. It's about showing that you are in control of yourself. Epictetus said that responding to empty messages, trying to justify your absence to someone who doesn't care, or continuing conversations that only exist when the other person wants them, makes no sense. All of this shows that your peace of mind is worth more than having someone toxic around. And then what happens to the person who despised you? Unease appears, doubt grows. Why didn't he answer? Why did she disappear? Did she find someone more important? These kinds of questions begin to affect the ego of someone who was used to having your time, attention, and affection freely. Silence becomes a mirror, and not everyone can look at themselves, but you can, because those who follow Stoicism understand that true value lies in inner control, not in what others think. By practicing silence intelligently, you don't create distance to hurt or deceive. You create space to protect yourself, and along this path you become freer, and precisely for that reason, even more valuable. Attitude 6. Maintain your dignity. Even when you are alone, you should remember something very important. One of the greatest lessons of Stoicism is that our dignity does not depend on having someone by our side, but on how we treat ourselves at any given moment. When someone doesn't value you, the urge may be to diminish yourself to please them, or even to become fragile, hoping that the other person will notice your pain. But Stoicism teaches one to maintain their honor even in the hardest times, even when no one is watching. Seneca said that it is in solitude that a person finds their true greatness. Maintaining dignity in the face of contempt is an exercise in emotional strength. You don't need anyone to confirm who you are or what you're worth. Your worth comes from your character and your actions, not from the praise of others. When you manage to maintain your composure even without an audience, even completely alone, you send a signal of silent strength. And those who didn't value you begin to think, how does she keep going? How does she remain so steadfast even without my attention? This feeling of inner power is something no one can steal. Often those who belittled you thought you would crumble, that you would depend on their approval to continue. But when you remain whole, without needing anyone's gaze, the other person feels the loss. And often, feeling that loss is what awakens regret in those who fail to recognize your worth. In the end, you become even stronger, because the strength of the Stoic lies in living according to their principles, without depending on what others think or do. By maintaining your dignity, even in solitude you reinforce this strength. Those who didn't value you realize, perhaps too late, that they lost not only your presence, but also the chance to be close to someone genuine and steadfast. Attitude 7. Live with purpose and focus on yourself. Nothing confuses someone more than seeing the person they didn't value growing and improving without needing them. When you turn your attention to your dreams, your plans, and your own development, the message becomes clear: I am enough for myself. This really messes with the ego of someone who believed you depended on that person's presence or affection. In Stoicism, there's a main idea: only take care of what's within your reach, and what you truly control is your time, your strength, and where you focus your gaze. Instead of spending it trying to please or explain yourself, invest in yourself. Read more, take care of your body, learn new things, explore different places. Show yourself that life goes on and can be much better without those who didn't see you properly. That's when desperation creeps in from the other side, because the person realizes you're not just distancing yourself, you're rising. While they kept you as an option, you were learning to prioritize yourself. The person who didn't value you starts to see you shining in a quiet way, without hidden messages, without fights, without asking for anything, just living your life. And that attitude is 1,000 times stronger than any words, because it shows that you're not pretending to have moved on, you really have. Furthermore, living with purpose creates a natural protection against bad relationships, because when you're focused on your mission, your peace becomes what matters most. And anyone who tries to diminish you ends up falling behind without you having to make any effort. The true power of the Stoic lies in living well even when others doubt or distance themselves, because they understand that the best response to contempt is to grow. And when you begin to flourish without depending on anyone, those who didn't value you will want to return to your life at any cost. But perhaps it's too late now. Attitude 8. Remain unfazed by criticism. One of the biggest weapons of someone who doesn't value you is meaningless criticism. Often these people don't know how to talk to you directly, so they try to diminish your confidence by pointing out false flaws or mistakes that don't even exist. What they don't realize is that when you live by Stoic philosophy, you become almost immune to this type of attack. Epictetus said that it's not things that hurt us, but rather how we think about them. In other words, when you learn to stand firm in the face of criticism, you realize that the problem isn't with the person speaking, but with how you choose to respond. Those who don't value you may try to hurt you with harsh words or negative comments, but what they don't expect is for you to remain calm, focused, and composed, without letting those words affect you. And that's exactly what confuses and even drives to despair those who previously managed to easily unsettle you. When you stop reacting to criticism, not because you've become cold, but because you understand that words are just words, you regain control of the situation. There's no more room for emotional manipulation, nor for attempts to make you feel small. You cease to be fragile in the face of others' opinions, because your identity is now based on much stronger values. Criticism loses its power when you decide it will no longer affect your emotions. When the person who ignored you realizes that nothing they say will disturb your peace, they lose control of the relationship. And then they start to wonder, why doesn't he react? And that makes them uneasy. The Stoic understands that true freedom lies in controlling one's responses. When you learn to be strong internally, you not only protect yourself from external criticism, but you also strengthen yourself internally, knowing that your peace depends only on you and not on the words of those who never valued you. Attitude 9. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't want to understand you. One of the greatest traps of the heart is trying to make others see who we are. Talking too much, explaining every detail, justifying every step. But Stoicism makes something very clear. You shouldn't waste your energy on people who have already decided not to understand you. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if something can be changed, change it. If it can't, accept it. But don't wear yourself out. When you stop explaining yourself to those who don't value you, you send a direct message. I don't need your approval. This affects people. Someone who was used to seeing you always available, always trying to please, starts to think, what happened? The most curious thing is that this stance doesn't need to be harsh. It just needs to be firm. If someone criticizes you without reason, don't argue. Just stay calm and move on. If they doubt your choices, don't try to prove anything. Keep walking confidently. A lack of response usually hurts much more than 1,000 explanations. Often those who don't value you expect you to react weakly, to defend yourself, to apologize even for things you didn't do. But when you stop justifying yourself, you show that you no longer depend on someone else's opinion to feel complete. And that's frightening. Deep down, people notice when you're at peace with your own decisions. It makes them think. Some even feel left out, even if you haven't said anything offensive, because the silence of your maturity speaks louder than any argument. The Stoic knows there's no point in trying to prove your worth to those who have chosen not to see it. You don't have to prove anything. Just live honestly. And those who didn't value you, they'll start to think, and maybe too late. Attitude 10. Care for your worth in silence and let the other person discover it on their own. One of the most elegant and powerful things you can do is improve in silence. Don't tell anyone. Don't announce anything. Don't make it clear how much you're growing. Just grow. In Stoicism, there's a central idea. Goodness doesn't need witnesses to exist. And when you become stronger away from the eyes of those who didn't value you, it creates an unexpected and often devastating impact on that person's ego. Because those who didn't value you were used to seeing you small, fragile, always available, always begging for crumbs of attention. But when you disappear for a while and come back stronger, more centered, more resolute, something changes within the other person. The question arises, what happened while I wasn't looking? This type of insecurity arises precisely because you've ceased to be predictable. Before, the person knew exactly how to affect you, knew exactly how to emotionally trap you. Now, your careful silence creates a space where they no longer have any control. And here lies the Stoic beauty. You don't improve to provoke anyone. You improve because it honors your own life. Read more, train more, take care of your body and mind, rebuild your routine, strengthen your independence. All of this sends a silent and powerful message. I didn't stop when you stopped looking. When someone notices that you are growing even without support, even without attention, even without affection, they understand that you were never the one who was dependent. And this discovery hurts, because it is in this silence full of evolution that the other person realizes the value they have lost and realizes it too late. The Stoic knows silent progress creates the kind of regret that no amount of discussion could ever create, because no one forgets those who flourish after being ignored. Attitude 11. Let natural consequences happen. Don't protect those who didn't protect you. One of the greatest demonstrations of inner strength is to stop saving those who have always undervalued you. Often out of love, habit, or even fear of conflict, you step in, solve problems, offer help, and downplay flaws that aren't even yours. You become protection. You become the solution. You become comfortable. And without realizing it, you create a dangerous illusion that you will always be there to cushion the other person's life. But Stoicism teaches something fundamental. Don't prevent anyone from experiencing the natural consequences of their choices. When you overprotect someone who never valued you, you teach that person to continue being irresponsible, indifferent, or even cruel, because they know you'll catch them in the end. When you stop protecting, something powerful happens. The other one falls for the first time. Feel the weight of your own negligence. You can see your own flaws without you trying to hide them. And that's where regret is born, not because you did something to hurt them, but because for the first time, you heeded nothing to prevent life from speaking. Epictetus said that pain is often the only teacher one truly listens to. And when you decide to withdraw, to stop covering for others, to stop carrying responsibilities that aren't yours, you force the other person to look at themselves, and many people can't stand that reflection. Those who didn't value you are starting to realize that life is much harder without you. The mistakes become more serious because silence hurts even more deeply. Absence leaves marks that cannot be erased with a quick message. The Stoic understands. It's not revenge to let the other person face their own destiny. That's wisdom. It's self-care. That's maturity. And when that person finally feels the price of the choices they made, they will understand, too late, that those who walked beside them were rare, and that he lost something he should never have let slip away. Attitude 12. Be emotionally self-sufficient. One of the strongest attitudes you can adopt when faced with someone who doesn't value you is to learn to be emotionally independent. This means that you don't need the praise, attention, or affection of others to feel that your life has importance. You are enough for yourself, and realizing this from within is one of the greatest forms of strength that exists. Stoicism shows that our feelings should not be controlled by external things. Epictetus said that happiness depends on us, not on the people around us. When you truly understand this idea, you begin to notice that only you have the power to truly affect your own heart. Others may try to confuse or sadden you, but you decide how you will react. When you become independent on the inside, you create a kind of protection against neglect or coldness. Those who don't value you realize that trying to bring you down or diminish you no longer works. You are no longer guided by the words or behaviors of these people. You are already whole and sufficient. But being emotionally self-sufficient doesn't mean withdrawing from the world or ceasing to connect with people. It means knowing that you can provide yourself with what you need, affection, respect, security, without depending entirely on anyone else for it. This creates enormous inner strength because you begin to live according to your own principles and goals, not what others expect or judge. And when you do this, those who didn't value you begin to feel like they've lost control of the situation. You no longer feel shaken when they fail to give you attention. You no longer need their yes to feel good. This sincere form of emotional independence often leaves those who ignored you truly frightened, because it's a loss they can't recover, the loss of control over their well-being. By putting this teaching into practice, you not only become stronger, but you also set a powerful example of how to live with independence and emotional stability. And because of this, people begin to see you as someone solid, secure, and full of confidence, precisely the kind of attitude that those who no longer valued you feared. These are 10 attitudes that leave those who don't value you with no way out, all based on the wisdom of Stoicism. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything, and watch the video that's appearing on the screen.